another reason I jump all around is that, sometimes without realizing it, you start out with your proportions okay, but then you get so caught up in a certain area before you know it, you've made it a little too big or a little too small and things fall out of proportion again. So constantly bouncing around, I can kind of help avoid that problem. Shape of the nostril. Over to the shape on the form of the nose. I think, like I said earlier in the semester, I'm constantly referencing back to the subject rather than getting caught up on an area. So it's going to help me adjust it. This way. This change right there will probably end up being about the value of the paper, so for the time being I'm going to take it out and reestablish it with the white pencil and the white paper, or white pencil and gray paper I have showed through. Come up a touch. So right there I'm making a correction from earlier on. But it's light enough so it's not that big of an issue. Take some, you can see a subtle little change in value right along here. You've got a muscle underneath there, and there's a form change, which helps define that part of the head. That comes down. There. Sometimes I'll tell people, make sure you look at your line weight variation. And what I'm thinking about right now, line weight variation in the sense of the hardness and softness of edges, so I can readjust these shapes. Soft edge, a very subtle one, I'm not going to put a heavy line there. Ultimately, I might end up blurring part of that line. Eyebrow. So I'm going to lightly start to take away my guidelines that help me structure. And this kind of what I was doing right there references, I think, the importance of still paying attention to the planar structure issue of a head, even though you're not necessarily putting in those lines to identify it like we did earlier. You still need to think about it to get the form to work in the end. Let's see some of her top eyelid. Like I've said before, don't be afraid to erase something. It needs to be adjusted. Adjust it. adjusted. Right now I want to say I'm in the ballpark of where I need to be with some of this stuff. Now I've approximated my way to where it needs to be. Now I'm refining it. Everybody's eyebrow, it depends again on the person, but everybody's eyebrow usually on this end is a little thinner than the area towards the center of the eyes. There's just more hair there. Unlike me, who's got like good eyebrows everywhere. For the most part, that's just the way it works. So I'm not going to make an eyebrow that kind of goes like that. Right? And then that kind of thing. Like that. And there are a lot of ways to make tone changes. Sometimes people will blur it. Sometimes you can make kind of the little circles, which they'll teach in rendering, to make a tonal value shift. Like I said, I don't think any one is necessarily better than the other, just some of them are more time consuming than the other. But if you do decide to go the route of hatching in lines, which is fine, remember that the hatch marks can't be random. Think about the direction of the form. Let the hatch marks actually describe as much as possible about the area that you're dealing with. So I'm going to work a little bit of the value shift along here, and then I'm going to go into the white pencil. Nostril is dark, but it doesn't mean it's black dark. And I think a good way to keep an idea of the range of values is you can make a little value scale to where you go from the dark towards gradually getting lighter towards the middle value of the paper, and then the white pencil gradually with more pressure you start to make a value shift. So that can be a reference for that, because this is not as dark as that. Pull up that division there. I'm going to avoid making it too hard of a division. There's a little bit of a core shadow running through here, and I see a little bit of reflecting light in there. So if I push the core shadow, that tone that's already down will take on the value of my reflecting light. Just underneath her jaw, right there. Yeah, there's a little bit coming in.